human trafficking in conflict, to reinforce global norms against it, to counter the emerging narrative that normalizes slavery in conflict, and to promote accountability. I urge the Security Council and its members to report on efforts to better implement existing mechanisms, countering trafficking in persons in general, not limiting it only to conflict. And finally, I will close by emphasizing the need to strengthen the capacity of relevant officials likely to encounter and identify possible victims of trafficking in persons, which includes civil society organizations at the grassroots level. Thank you.
I now give the floor to the members of the Security Council, reminding them that they each have 5 minutes to make their statement. I now give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Laurence Rossignol, Minister of Families, Children and Women's Rights of France.
Mr. President, Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin by thanking the Secretary General and Mr. Kevin Hyland, Mr. Yuri Fedotov, as well as Madame Ilwad Elman for their statements and testimonies. France associates itself with the speech to be delivered by the European Union. The actions committed by Daesh in the Middle East and by Boko Haram in Africa illustrate dramatically the links that exist today between the threat to international peace and security and human trafficking. At global level, trafficking in persons and trafficking in drugs and counterfeiting is amongst the most profitable. Their annual profit is estimated at $32 billion. It's one of the most extensive forms of trafficking. Sexual exploitation, forced labor, servitude, kidnapping for the purposes of prostitution, rape, the list of atrocities committed in situations of armed conflict is unfortunately very long. Benefiting from human beings, considering them as merchandise, the traffickers as well as consumers, the users, the clients of sexual exploitation, clearly violate their victims' human rights and further stoke the causes.
This is due to ongoing conflicts and massive displacement of civilian populations, such as the situation in the Lake Chad Basin region, which the Council visited 2 weeks ago. It flourishes because there are those ready to cruelly exploit others in desperate situations. The most effective way to end human trafficking is to address its root causes. One of the root causes is demand. For example, should there be no persons, the majority men, ready to buy sexual services, there would be no trafficking for sexual exploitation.
The United States appreciates all of the work you have done to help move us towards this goal. Rama was looking for a better life, a young woman in a war-torn Syria. Rama was working in a cafe when a man offered her a restaurant job in Lebanon with a much higher salary. Rama jumped at the opportunity, but instead of taking Rama to the well-paying job he promised, the man took Rama to a run-down brothel in a slum. Over the next 9 months, Rama was beaten and forced into prostitution. One of as many as 75 women caught up in one of Lebanon's largest sex trafficking rings. As Rama told a reporter, "We slept where we worked. The windows were painted black. We couldn't see the light or breathe the air outside." Describing her captor, the ringleader of this trafficking operation, Rama said, "It's not that he made us feel like slaves. We were actual slaves. He beat me until I surrendered." Rama eventually escaped this horror, but she is physically and emotionally shattered. Rama is not alone. Sadly, her experience is far more common than most of us realize. An estimated 21 million people in more than 106 countries are reported trapped in modern slavery. This includes countless children. That is more than the population of Romania. These are people living in some of the most horrifying conditions imaginable. We see children forced to make bricks in Peru, disentangle fishing nets in Ghana, or sold into prostitution of Southeast Asia. We see men held captive on fishing boats off the coast of Thailand, or women trapped as domestic workers in the Persian Gulf. No country is immune from this crisis. That includes the United States, where despite our efforts to combat human trafficking, too many people are still falling victim to criminals who force them into prostitution or other types of work with no pay and no way out. This is not just an issue of human dignity. It can also be an issue of peace and security. The groups responsible for human trafficking are all too often the same groups that send weapons and narcotics across our borders. Or there are terrorist organizations that finance their attacks by smuggling desperate people. According to the NGO Human Rights First, traffickers earn an estimated $150 billion every year. That is big money, and it is money that frequently ends up supporting illegal activities that we all want to stop. This problem is only getting harder to solve. Today, criminal gangs take advantage of technology to prey on people, putting out fake job ads online and reaching out on social media to lure people into trafficking rings. When criminals want to sell the people they have enslaved, they can again turn to the internet to find buyers more easily and with less risk of detection. Law enforcement often lacks the resources and training to penetrate these online networks and find the people who need help. We must do better. Standing up to modern slavery and forced labor is a core element of foreign policy. It demonstrates our unwavering commitment to human rights and the fact that everyone, regardless of where they come from, has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is why each year the State Department produces a dedicated report on trafficking in persons, along with just released annual human rights report. Both reports reflect our ongoing commitment to advancing human dignity